Brianna Larimer, business trainer and consultant here at Missouri Training Institute, getting ready for the winter weather apocalypse, apparently, that we're getting ready to have this week. But I'm excited to bring you another focused session. And as you saw in the description, this particular session is really going to speak to this idea of knowing when to say no. And it's not easy. Okay, first and foremost, not easy. So I want you guys to be thinking as we kind of begin this focused session. Think back to some of those times where maybe you said yes when you should have said no. All right, and I want you to start considering what were some feelings that started occurring based off of your decision to say yes when maybe you should have said no. Share with me some of those thoughts in the chat as well. I'm looking here, I appreciate the connection. I see, all right, we got some folks preparing for the potential weather coming in as well. Day's going okay. Just surprised we're getting snow tomorrow. So if you're in the Columbia, Missouri area, we are expecting anywhere, I've heard, from 9 to 14 inches of snow over the next couple of days, which is just astounding for us right now. I think the last time was maybe in 2012 when I saw that much snow. So we'll see. We'll see. But let me know as we think about that idea again of when you said yes, but should have said no. What were some emotions maybe that you had experienced? Share those with me in the chat. As I was prepping for this session, I'll tell you, I had just had a very, very prominent experience with this. And I remember, I'm a people pleaser, okay? And I remember when I had a colleague come to me last week and asked me to help her with a particular project that she was working on. And immediately I knew I was in the middle of one of my own projects and I was on deadline for this particular project. But being a people pleaser, I was like, okay, I can make this work. I can rearrange some things. I can still make sure I make my deadline. I can make this work. And so I said yes. Although I had a gut instinct that probably told me I should have said no. And so the emotions I was experiencing in that particular situation was, I guess, a little bit of nervousness, right? What's my colleague going to think if I say no? Maybe I was experiencing a little bit of frustration in the sense of, okay, if I just help her with it, I can get it over with and then I can start my project again. And I probably was feeling a little bit maybe deep down of resentment where it's like, well, doesn't she know that I have stuff I'm working on too? And so I had to really kind of check those emotions. I'm seeing some come in. I'm good intentions, always optimistic. All right, being overwhelmed by the additional task, kind of Debbie says, a tight stomach, feeling overwhelmed and avoidance. Yeah, it can make us sick, right? When we actively say yes to the things that we probably know internally we should be saying no to. So how do we determine what we should be saying no to? All right, I'm going to give you a few tips throughout this session. And I want you to, again, start kind of navigating your situations based off of these particular concepts. So there's certain signs, if you will, that usually pop up that we aren't aware of in the moment. We just kind of push them to the side. Yeah, thanks. Making sure things are fair within your team. Some would like to take on more responsibilities than others. Yeah. So making sure that you're keeping a consistency on your team. And leaders, I think that's a great concept. Thank you for sharing that, because when we consider this, we have to be looking out for our employees. You're going to have people pleasers on your team. All right, you're going to have people that will be overcommitted and take on way too much. And then there is an element of complete exhaustion that can occur. Okay, of burnout. And we're seeing what we do know, the Gallup Global State of the Workforce is saying that burnout is higher than it's been in a long time. All right, we're seeing some concerns with engagement in our overall work environments. All right, we're seeing not necessarily concern with productivity because people are still getting things done, especially those yes people, but there are concerns that people just aren't as committed or as engaged or as enthusiastic about the work that they're doing. Why? Well, maybe this goes into that a little bit. But let's jump into these signs. Okay, I want you to understand the signs of really those times when we probably should be saying no. All right, and first and foremost, that example I just gave you, right? When you're overloaded, When you know that you have so much on your plate already that taking on another task or going to another event is going to cause you to have to reschedule or reprioritize things, right? Because with rescheduling or reprioritizing things, you may be a go-getter and you're going to get it done. But the problem is that then you have this level of stress that you wouldn't have otherwise had. All right. And so understanding that if you are overloaded, meaning you to say yes to this person, you're going to have to reprioritize or reschedule, then chances are it might be an opportunity to really just practice saying no. All right. And let me share with you, I'm going to give yourself grace on this. Okay. Because saying no is not always easy for many of us. I'm assuming that's why you're on this call today. All right. And so when you are practicing it, know that practicing is really part of this. It's a process. Okay, saying no, especially for someone, myself included in this, who's maybe practiced many years of always saying yes. It's just about being a little bit more intentional about our behaviors moving forward. You know, another thing that I think about often when I think of signs of knowing when to say no is those moments when I kind of don't do things as full as I should be doing. So I say yes, all right, but then I don't really follow through fully with my yes. Okay, so there might be another terminology I'm going to avoid saying on here, but it starts with half, you know what, that situation, okay? And I want you to consider, is this time when you're saying yes to this, is that a time when you're really just saying yes, but not doing the most you could with that? So an example of this might even be an event that you have said yes to, but then you end up canceling last minute. All right, so not following through on that yes. What happens when we cancel last minute, okay, when we do things like that, there's going to be a ripple effect of emotions in the other people that are involved. And so there's actually more damage that can be done by not following through on something fully to that yes than there would be if you'd said no up front. Right, and there is research that would back that statement up. And so understanding, again, if you're overloaded, knowing that, and then knowing if it's something that you're not really following through on your yes with. Knowing maybe in the back of your mind, you get, asked to come to that Pampered Chef party, and you're like, okay, I'll say yes, but then it'd be like the night before, I'll let them know I got something going on with my kids, and so I can't make it. All right, probably a moment to just practice that no, all right, that 2-letter word that is so difficult for all of us. Other things I consider when we talk about this, knowing when to say no, is also knowing when it just doesn't feel right. Here's the thing, a lot of us have in these intuitive feelings, those gut instincts, right? The things that are occurring within us that really have maybe no logic to them, but it's that intuition. And you know that one way or another, good or bad, by saying yes to this, all right, it's just not going to set well. And so we need to recognize those feelings when we're feeling them and trust them. Give yourself the benefit of the doubt in that situation. That gut instinct response is probably appropriate. I had that when I mentioned that story that I started out with here with my colleague. I knew immediately, I had that gut feeling like, oh, Brianna, don't say yes. Don't say yes to this. All right. But I did it anyway. And so it happens again, right? We're practicing grace and we're practicing the practice of saying no. But you also really need to consider when somebody asks you for something or to attend something or to be a part of something, just asks you for anything. I also really want to encourage you to consider how it's aligning with your goals and with your aspirations and with the things that you want to be doing with your time, because your time is valuable. Okay, so another sign to consider here. Okay, if this request is putting a stop on you reaching your goals, the things that you might have even just had planned for the day, then it's probably a time where you need to say no. Now, let me be very clear. All right, I am not suggesting that we don't help people out because we all need to just focus on us. That's not what I'm encouraging whatsoever. But I do want you to consider that if it is a consistent pattern, how it will overall affect your enthusiasm, all right, maybe affect your own well-being. We did a whole session on that a couple of weeks ago. and how that could maybe create some feelings, some pent up feelings of resentment towards the person that may be making these requests of you, because you're constantly pleasing them or meeting their needs, but not meeting yours and those goals and those aspirations that you have in your own personal and professional life. Okay, I heard a really good thing the other day. I really enjoyed it. All right, time is too precious to be spent on the mediocre. Okay, so one of the things I encourage you to also consider is when a person makes this request of you, is it something that you get fired up about? Are you excited to be a part of it? Are you excited to help out on it? Are you excited to go? And if you're not, and it just kind of makes you feel, okay, then are you doing it for the right reasons? Okay, are you doing it because you feel obligated? Are you doing it because you feel guilty? Those aren't the right reasons to say yes. Okay, we need to really take a deep look at ourselves. We need to step back and to reflect and to recognize, where is the feeling coming from that I am having related to my response to this request. Okay, and if it's from an area of guilt or obligation, we need to be very mindful of that. Okay, mindful of what's motivating us in that situation. And those two evils right there are not a good way to go through life. Okay, that will build up a lot of unnecessary stress and frustration internally if you act and are motivated to say yes to those things you should be saying no to out of obligation or out of guilt. And frankly, it's not fair to the person that may be making the request. Okay, we need to consider it. I mentioned that earlier, that pampered chef party, right, that we get invited to, and we're like, I don't really want to go, all right, but it's my friend and I don't want to say no, so I'll just cancel at the last minute. What does that say to them? All right, I want you to consider that in your relationships with others. If somebody did that in reverse, what would that say to you? Okay, a lot of times we build it up in our own heads that they're going to overreact or be upset with us or be frustrated with us if we say no to the request, when 99% of the time, right, folks are understanding that we all have lives. Okay, you're going to have a few, maybe that 1% of folks who maybe not quite as understanding. All right, but again, what's your relationship like with that person altogether? I would encourage you to evaluate that. And so for the most part, it's easier on other people to recognize, hey, I value you saying no up front. So that way I can plan appropriately for the, dinner setting that I need to have, for the amount of, stuff I need to have prepared for the party. And so you're doing the other person a favor by saying no. Okay. And the other thing is, sometimes we say yes to people because people have been enabled to treat us that way. They know that we'll say yes. Okay, they know. So sometimes folks will take advantage of that behavior. And here's the thing, folks. We teach people how to treat us. I'm going to say that again. We teach people how to treat us. And so if we're enabling the behavior by always saying yes, right, then they're never going to learn that day that's going to come how to accept the no and how to take responsibility for maybe that thing that they should be doing on their own. I've had people I've worked with in the past like that. Right? Give it to Brianna because I know Brianna will get it done. Right? And I would every single time, but to my own detriment, to my family's detriment, to the people around me's detriment, because I was frustrated. And so understanding that you are important, all right, and you get to own your time. You wouldn't let somebody reach into your wallet and take money out. So don't let them reach into your life and take time out with things that you aren't as interested in, okay, with the things that aren't meeting the goals that you have in your life, personal or professional. So real quick, I want to just kind of tell you the how, okay, and Ray's going to follow up here in a couple of weeks with a little bit more on this, but I want you to just recognize you can't overthink it, okay? So if you're looking to say no, do not overthink it. Do it quickly, right? Be succinct about it. It doesn't mean that you just say no, all right, and move on. But maybe it's like, hey, I really appreciate the offer. I appreciate that you were thinking about me for that. I have something else going on that day, so I'm going to have to say no this time. Right? That's all right. That's all right. And so recognize that the quicker you say it, the quicker you get it out of your mind, you get it off your chest, and you're not feeling all the feels of maybe guilt or remorse or frustration for letting that build up. So do it quickly. Okay, do it very quickly. One of the things I like to do sometimes, if it's a conversation that I know is going to be difficult, but I have to say no in it, I do a power pose before I have that conversation. And, for some folks, it's just standing up really, really tall and just stretching out, standing up. For other people, it's the Superman, all right, standing up, doing the Superman, or the Superstar, if you've seen that movie. But those power poses where it really pulls you and lifts your body up. All right, it gives you more confidence. It gives you more authority over what you're getting ready to speak. And so maybe as you're prepping for that conversation, all right, run to the bathroom real quick, do a quick power pose, and that will help boost, there is research behind this, that will help boost your confidence in the conversation moving forward. All right, be direct. Don't beat around the bush. You don't have to make excuses for why you can't, okay? You don't have to justify your decision on why you can't. Unless it's your supervisor, then maybe helping them understand what you already have on your plate. All right, but for everyone else, for the most part, no explanation is necessary. Just say no. All right, so be very clear about it, be direct, don't beat around the bush because it can get confusing. And the other thing is if you have some of those folks who maybe use it to their advantage, knowing that if I can just keep her talking, that eventually I'll get her to say yes, all right, it cuts that off. All right, when we just be incredibly direct, okay, no, not going to be able to do that this time. There's no room for wishy-washiness there. Keep it short and sweet. All right, be clear, keep it short and sweet. And more than anything, folks, I just encourage you to practice, practice, practice. All right, you have to be very, very cognizant of your natural behaviors and what you do day in and day out, what's motivating you when you're responding to those requests for your time, okay? And is it the right things? Okay, don't rearrange and inconvenience yourself, right? That was the number one. If you're overloaded, recognize that. I encourage each of you, okay, understand it's human to want to fit in. It's human to really want to be liked, all right? But more times than not, what we find is that people respect folks who are very clear, very succinct about what they're willing and not willing to do with the time that they have. And it's a short amount, people. It's a short amount here on Earth. So I encourage you as you move forward, stay committed, okay, practice. And if you have any questions about this topic, please send me an email at mti@missouri.edu. And I'm going to go ahead and borrow Ray's sign off that she normally says. But go be great.